Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parirajikacharya Asatara Satashishi Mad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hara. All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 16, Text 32. Tastam suvigna manasota purashkritarbha. Kayam nidhaya bhuvi bhuta patim pranemuhu. Sadvya kritanjali puta shamalasya bhartur. Mokshe sava sharanadam sharanam prapana. Devotees. Tastam suvigna manaso. Taha, they, the wives of Kaliya. Tam, to him. Suvigna, very much agitated. Manasaha, their minds. Ata, then. Purakrita, placing in front. Arbha, their children. Kayam, their bodies. Nidhaya, putting. Bhuvi, upon the ground. Bhuta patim, to the Lord of all creatures. Pranemuhu, they bow down. Sadvyaha, the saintly ladies. Kritanjali puta, folding their hands in supplication. Shamalasya, who was sinful. Bhartu, of their husband. Moksha, the liberation. Ipsavaha, desiring. Sharanadam, he who grants shelter. Sharanam, for shelter. Prapana, they approached. Translation. Their minds very much disturbed, those saintly ladies placed their children before them and then bowed down to the Lord of all creatures, laying their bodies flat upon the ground. They desired the liberation of their sinful husband and the shelter of the Supreme Lord, the giver of ultimate shelter. And thus they folded their hands in supplication and approached him. Please repeat. Their minds very much disturbed, those saintly ladies placed their children before them and then bowed down to the Lord of all creatures, laying their bodies flat upon the ground. They desired the liberation of their sinful husband and the shelter of the Supreme Lord, the giver of ultimate shelter. And thus they folded their hands in supplication and approached him. So before we will, there's no purport to this verse, but before we move on, I just wanted to read a few of the commentaries on this, on these 32, 33, and then 34 has a purport. But before we begin, I just offer prayers to Spiritual Master. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasai Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Charu Swami Tinamane. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasai Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Desha Tarine Vanchakalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhuve Vachapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So when Drishya Prabhu asked me and my husband to give class on Fridays, I did not expect Maharaj would be here also. This is the first time. Usually it's a reversal of roles because since childhood I was always there and Maharaj was always the one here. So this is a very strange situation for me. But praying for his blessings that I can speak some words and to all the devotees that I can speak something to glorify Srimad Bhagavatam and this beautiful pastime. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on this verse says that the wives offered respects by paying obeisances on the ground. It is understood that in the lake of Kaliya there was an island where Kaliya held Krishna in his coils. The inhabitants of Raj could see this. The wives put their own babies in front of them to invoke the compassion of Krishna. So when I heard that lying their bodies flat on the ground, I was thinking, how did they? Because they were in the water, but then it's clear there was an island in the middle of the lake, and that's how they were offering obeisances to the Lord, and they put their children in front. And Jiva Goswami says they were extremely frightened or grief-stricken by the thought that their husband would die or by fear of his great offense. Their offering of respect is a sign of their surrender or a quality of their extreme humility. They placed their bodies on the ground. It is understood that there was an island in the lake. There, Krishna raised himself while surrounded by the coils of Kaliya and was seen by the people of Gokul. They placed their children in front to make Krishna compassionate. Were they not afraid of their husband's offense? The wives felt in their hearts that Krishna was the Lord of all living beings, Bhuta Patim. Though they were afraid, where else could they go? They desired that he leave Kaliya alone, since they were loyal wives, Sadvyaha, and they were Krishna's devotees. And Sanatana Goswami is very similar to Jiva Goswami's. So just a few comments on this verse. So first of all, the wives were coming to Kaliya with their minds very much disturbed. They were afraid that their husband would die, but they were also afraid of his great offense to Krishna and the residents of Vrindavan. So this stood out to me that, in life we will have times where our minds will be very disturbed, and it will be hard for us to, at that time, to take shelter of Krishna. Because when as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, one should deliver oneself with the help of the mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul, but his enemy as well. So the mind is like a separate entity. And unless we get in the habit of taking shelter of Krishna in times where we're not so disturbed, then otherwise it would be very difficult when the mind is very agitated to take that shelter of Krishna. So I've heard wonderful advice by great exalted devotees, like setting up systems in your life, like what you do every day that will help, so that when the times are really rough, that you go for those. They're automatically habits that you've set up in your day, like listening to a lecture, Srila Prabhupada, or going to your Srimad Bhagavatam shelter time, where you just have time with Srimad Bhagavatam every day, or some kind of routine in your day that helps when times are rough, that you still have that easy access. And also treating the mind as almost like a child, in the sense like not taking it so seriously, and just kind of guiding the mind. Okay, now we're going to do this, and I know you're agitated, but we're going to move ahead. And that helps to separate ourselves from the mind, because we're not the mind, and the mind will go through its issues. So here the wives are disturbed, but they have no other shelter but to go to Krishna. Jiva Goswami is saying, aren't they afraid of their husband's offense? Yes, they're afraid, but they have no other shelter but to go to Krishna at this time. So actually, when we have that in our life, when there are situations where we have no other shelter but Krishna, that's actually a very good, healthy situation to be in. Although it may seem very extreme and very difficult, but it's actually a very wonderful situation to be in. Like Draupadi, she's there in the middle of the assembly, and nobody can help her, not even her husbands, her 5 strong, powerful husbands, and all the Kurus, and the king himself is there. And so imagine how helpless she must have felt. So her only shelter was Krishna, and that's extremely a wonderful situation actually to be in, even though it's you can't say wonderful. I'm sure it was a really terrible situation externally, but internally it's wonderful to have a position where we have nobody but Krishna to take shelter of. So there's a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam by Queen Kunti, where she says, the famous verse, that people put shelter in their wealth, their beauty, their high parentage, but akinchana gocharam, the devotee who's materially exhausted and doesn't put shelter in anything else, can approach Krishna with sincere feeling. Because if we have this feeling of, I have money, I have a bank balance, I have my family, I have this, I have that, I have my intelligence that will save me. But when we really are materially exhausted and we realize that none of these are real shelters, then we can approach Krishna with sincere feeling. So the saintly ladies, they put their children in front to invoke Krishna's compassion, and they went forward, and they desired the liberation of their husband, it says here, their sinful husband. And I was thinking how the devotees are always paraduka duki, they always want to help others, and in this, they're well-wishing friends of every living entity. And that's really pleasing to Krishna, actually, when we pray for other devotees and we have that mood of helping others. And finally, the last part here where they say Krishna is the ultimate giver, the giver of ultimate shelter. Sharana Dham, he who grants shelter, Sharanam, for the shelter. So again, taking shelter of Krishna. And shelter is such a, taking shelter in times of need is such a, having some place to go when there's no other shelter. That's a concept that is very attractive. I remember when I was a child, I would play games with my sisters, and one of the games we would play is like there's a flood, and we are on a raft, and at least we have a shelter of a raft, and we have a little food, and it was just that sense of like we have something that, there's everything else is terrible around us, but we have this shelter. And also in a wartime, when people have a hiding place or some place where they can be, where they're sheltered, that's a very attractive situation. But this material world, you'll never find that ultimate shelter. It's not possible to find that. And the story of Govardhan Leela is so wonderful because that completely is matching that mood of wanting to find that shelter. The residents of Vrindavan had no shelter. The rain was falling down like pillars and flooding all of Vrindavan. So the only shelter for them was Krishna. So they turned to Krishna, and Krishna, of course, lifted Giriraj Govardhan, and they all took shelter under Govardhan Hill. And what a wonderful feeling that must have been, completely sheltered from what's happening outside and just being there with Krishna under Govardhan. Completely protected, completely happy for those 7 days. They were not even hungry, not thirsty. They were just blissful looking at Lord Krishna. So at some point in our life when Krishna becomes our only shelter and we don't find shelter in anything else, what amazing feeling that will be. We'll actually be immortal in some way. Not immortal, but what's the word I'm trying to say? We'll actually be, nothing can disturb us anymore in this material world. We'll be fearless when we actually have Krishna as our only shelter. So now we'll go on to text 33. Nagapatnya uchuhu nyayo hi dandakrita kilbishe smims tatvavatara kala nigrahaya ripo sutanam apitulya drishtir dhatse damam palam evanusham sam. Translation. The wives of the Kaliya serpent said, "The punishment this offender has been subjected to is certainly just. After all, you have incarnated within this world to curb down envious and cruel persons. You are so impartial that you look equally upon your enemies and your own sons. For when you impose a punishment on a living being, you know it is for his ultimate benefit." This is a very beautiful verse. So let's see, the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on this verse says, "In praising Krishna, the wives of Kaliya began by first agreeing with his punishment in order to appease the anger of Krishna. One must certainly bear responsibility for one's own wicked deeds in the form of violence to the innocent and devoted. You protect the good and punish the wicked, but in that you do not show any partiality. Thus you treat the sons of your enemy and your own sons equally. Though Hiranyakashipu was your enemy, you protected his son Prahlad. And though Narakasura was your own son, you killed him. And though you punish the wicked, you hold animosity towards them. Punish them thinking that after relieving them of their wicked nature, by hellish suffering, you will reward them with liberation." So this is a very wonderful point. So the aspects of this verse are, first of all, the wives of Kaliya are approaching Krishna by saying, "Thank you very much. Your punishment of him is just. It's exactly what he needed." you come to this world to curb people who are envious and who are cruel. And Kaliya was very envious and cruel, and you are justly punishing him. And they're doing this to appease Krishna's anger. And I was thinking about, since we just celebrated Nishinga Chaturdasi, when Prahlad Maharaj, when they pushed Prahlad forward to appease Lord Nrsingadev, there's a verse also there where Prahlad speaks to Lord Nrsingadev, and he says, My Lord Nrsingadev, please therefore cease your anger now that my father, the great demon Hiranyakashipu, has been killed. Since even saintly persons take pleasure in the killing of a scorpion or a snake, all the worlds have achieved great satisfaction because of the death of this demon. Now they are confident of their happiness, and they will always remember your auspicious incarnation in order to be free from fear. So, if someone kills your father, usually you don't go up to the killer and say, thank you very much. But here, Prahlad is saying, yes, you did the right thing. Now you can cease your anger. He's been killed. We're very happy. Everyone's very happy. Scorpion is killed, then the whole world is so everyone is relieved that this demon is killed. So the wives are coming up and saying, thank you. Actually, you did the right thing by punishing him. Thank you very much. And then next thing is you are impartial. You look equally upon your enemies and your own sons. And again, like when Nishinga Chaturdashi was on Wednesday, Maharaj was speaking from the beginning of the 7th canto. There was that whole discussion about, is Krishna impartial or not? And it went to Yudhishthir and Narada Muni speaking to Yudhishthir on this topic. And Krishna is impartial. Everything he does is for the well-being of every living entity. Even his punishment is beneficial. And the demons who are punished by Krishna get the highest perfection. They get liberation. And because Krishna is so merciful. And here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying that he treats usually people are more affectionate to their own children than other people's children, especially their enemies' children. But here, the example that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is making is that Krishna is equal with the son of his own son, who became Banasura, who became a demon, and the son of his so-called enemy Hiranyakashipu, who is Prahlad Maharaj. He was equal to both of them. And actually he killed his own son and saved. So this is how everything he does is for the benefit of all living entities. And then the last part of this verse, it says, you impose a punishment on a living being, you know it to be for his ultimate benefit. And this theme will go on in the next verse also. So when Krishna punishes someone, there's no hatred or animosity in it. Usually in this world, if there's punishment, along with it comes some sense of revenge or anger or hatred. But when Krishna punishes, there is no hatred, no envy, or no anger. It's all to relieve that person of their wicked tendencies and desires so that they can be benefited and ultimately gain ultimate shelter at Krishna's lotus feet for his ultimate benefit. So now we'll go to text 34, which talks more upon this theme of how Krishna's punishment is also his mercy. So text 34. Anugraho yam bhavata krito hino dando satam te kalu kalmashapaha yadandakshukatvam amushya dehinaha krodo pite nugraha eva sammataha. Translation: what you have done here is actually mercy for us, since the punishment you give to the wicked certainly drives away all their contamination. Indeed, because this conditioned soul, our husband, is so sinful that he has assumed the body of a serpent, your anger toward him is obviously to be understood as your mercy. Purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Madhvacharya points out in this connection that when a pious person suffers in this world, he realizes the punishment the Supreme Lord is meting out to me is actually his causeless mercy. Envious persons, however, even after being punished by the Lord for their purification, continue to envy him and be resentful, and this attitude is the reason for their continued failure to understand the absolute truth. So punishment is actually mercy. Here it says that the punishment drives away the contamination. In the commentaries on this verse, Jiva Goswami says that this punishment that we see is your mercy to us, since your punishment destroys the sins of the sinful. Because of his sins, this person receiving bodies because of karma has become a snake. Since he will attain liberation by complete absorption in you with anger, he will give up his snake body. This is your mercy. Thus, even if he shows anger, that is also your mercy. Or though the sins of the sinful are destroyed, you do not punish them, since you permitted him to receive a snake body for the purpose of giving him mercy. Though anger is his nature, it has become a cause of your mercy arranged by you. He has participated in your pastimes by wrapping you in his coils and by not bowing his heads, so you could dance on them in joy. So he's saying that in multiple ways it's mercy. That your punishment is mercy. Also, his body of a snake, he was cursed to become a snake. That's also mercy. His nature of being angry because he's in a snake body was also arranged by you, because he could participate in your pastimes and wrap his coils around you, and you could dance on his heads. Mercy, mercy, mercy. So Krishna, everything Krishna does is merciful, even though it may not seem that way. And Kaliya certainly did not feel it that way when Krishna was jumping on his heads and he was vomiting blood. It certainly did not feel like mercy to him. But like Mother Urmila was saying on Monday, that it depends on our attitude and how we view things, whether it's suffering or not. We will go through situations that appear like suffering, but whether we actually suffer in our mind or not depends on our attitude and our consciousness. When a doctor is curing a patient, the cure is not always easy to take. The medicine may be bitter. There might be surgery and different kinds of, even taking out a splinter is very painful, but actually it's beneficial for the person. So punishment or suffering can actually be a great blessing. And so the attitude of a devotee when there is reversals in life is, thank you, Krishna. Thank you so much. Because by this reversal, you are purifying me. You're helping me take shelter of you. You're reminding me that I'm not the doer. I'm not the controller. And my only shelter is you. And this is the attitude that pleases Krishna, according, as we know from that famous verse of Brahma, Tatenu kampam susamikshamana. The devotee, with his words, mind, and body, he continues to praise Krishna and thank Krishna even through the hard times in life. On the other hand, if we take the other side, if we're envious and we are resentful and continue to envy Krishna, as Madhvacharya is saying here, and are resentful, this is the attitude that actually is the reason why we continue to stay in this material world. this attitude of, and not be able to understand Krishna, is this attitude of entitlement. I don't deserve this. Why is it happening to me? I shouldn't suffer. I deserve better. And this attitude is what is actually keeping us here in this material world. So this verse of Tate Nukampam Susamikshamana, there's one part of the purport that I really like. The purpose of the entire creation of God is to rectify the living entity's tendency to enjoy without the Lord, and therefore the particular punishment given for a sinful activity is specifically designed to curtail the mentality that produced the activity. Although a devotee has surrendered to the Lord's devotional service, until he is completely perfect in Krishna consciousness, he may maintain a slight inclination to enjoy the false happiness of this world. The Lord therefore creates a particular situation to eradicate this remaining enjoying spirit. This unhappiness suffered by a sincere devotee is not technically a karmic reaction. It is rather the Lord's special mercy for inducing his devotee to completely let go of the material world and return home back to Godhead. Wonderful. So Krishna creates a situation particularly designed to curtail the mentality that's keeping us away from our loving relationship with Krishna. So it's special mercy. If we can see it that way, it's difficult, but if we can see punishment or suffering as mercy, then first of all, it helps us even mentally and physically, because as soon as we're grateful, it helps to not suffer as much, but also it helps us spiritually, and unlimitedly helps us spiritually to take shelter of Krishna during those times. So I thought of a few examples of people from the devotees from the scriptures who were punished, but who took it as mercy. And I don't know, does anyone have any Chitraketu, yes, he was cursed, and he just offered his obeisances to Parvati, and he said, "Thank you so much." And he could have cursed her back, but he took it as a blessing, and he became Vritrasura, and so that's definitely a wonderful example. Yes. Any other examples? Prahlad Maharaj? And in what way? Oh yeah, right, yes. As he was suffering, he was just taking it as he wasn't resentful to Krishna, like, why am I going through all this suffering? Yes. Mother Kunti, yes. Haridas Thakur, yes. Parikshit Maharaj, yeah. Parikshit Maharaj was, again, he could have, he could have cursed back, but he took it as a blessing. And then I was also thinking of, maybe not on the moment, but Manigriva Nalakuvera, when they were cursed by Narada, maybe not on the moment they didn't see it as a blessing, but later they realized, wow, that was a great blessing. because of that we got to see Krishna. And then another example I was thinking about was in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's this story of Kamalakanta Vishwas, who he wrote a note to King Prataparudra saying, Advaita Acharya has a debt of 300 rupees, and can you please resolve him of the debt? And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu somehow he got that note and he got very angry. He said, he's first of all establishing that Advaita Acharya is a supreme personality of Godhead, and then he's saying that he has a debt. So how is this? So he said, don't let this Kamalakanta Vishwas anymore in my presence. I punish him this way. And he was so hurt and so sad to be punished by Lord Chaitanya. And Advaita Acharya came up to him and said, no, you should see this as a blessing. I am waiting to be punished by the Lord. Like, I actually made a trick so Lord Chaitanya could punish me. But you're so fortunate that he's doing this to you. And Advaita Acharya went to Lord Chaitanya and said, this is not fair. How come you're giving so much mercy to Kamalakanta Vishwas by punishing him and not to me? And then Lord Chaitanya Lord Chaitanya was smiled, and he accepted Kamalakanta back into his association. But it's another example how the punishment is mercy. if we can see it that way. So I'll end here and see if anybody... yes, ma'am. Right.
I was thinking about the word mercy. Mercy comes from
Hmm. Hmm.
somebody who is expressing
Hmm.
mercy towards somebody else. Deeper than that is that the Supreme Lord is talking about love.
Hmm.
And there is everything just out of goodness or kindness that He's merciful because He loves so much. And He wants all of these people to get back to Him. So desperately.
Hmm.
And everything He's doing is out of love.
Hmm.
So even though sometimes it may feel uncomfortable for the person who is on the receiving end, if we understand it's not just mercy, it's absolute love for us,
Hmm.
and He's doing it for, then it's very easy to accept.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Mm-hmm.